If you're watching this video, you want to know as quickly as possible how to create pixel art in the Piskel editor, and if it is worth using. Whether you're an absolute beginner looking to begin your pixel art journey, or you're an experienced artist looking to add a new tool to your toolkit, this video is for you. I'll try not to waste any of your time, and I've included chapters, so feel free to skip ahead to chapters of interest. But first, what exactly is Piskel, and why should you care? Piskel is a free open source and lightweight pixel art editor available within a web browser and also integrated within the GDevelop 5 engine, which is what I'll be using. When you open up your editor, you'll see this screen. In front of you is the canvas, which on the bottom right shows us the dimension, which is 64 by 64 pixels. Now throughout this tutorial, I may use some hotkeys or shortcuts, and these are located down here on the bottom left by this little keyboard icon. So here's a quick image of the shortcuts. All of your tools are on the left-hand side here, and the first tool is the pen tool. This is a basic pencil style tool, and the pen tool can be adjusted from a single pixel to 2x2, 3x3, or 4x4. You can set the color of your pen tool on the bottom left side here. Next, we have the vertical mirror pen tool. This is similar to the pen tool, but it mirrors on the opposite side of the screen. Next is the paint bucket tool, and this simply fills in an enclosed area. Paint all pixels of the same color is similar to the paint bucket tool, but this changes all pixels of the same color to another color. What's handy about this is it does not have to apply to just a contiguous area. It will apply to all pixels of the same color regardless of their location on the screen. The eraser tool is pretty straightforward. It's similar to the pen tool, but it takes away. Its size can also be adjusted by the pen size. The stroke tool is for drawing lines. Now if you hold shift, it will try to calculate lines with line segments of equal length, which gives you a relatively smoother line. The rectangle tool draws a quadrilateral. You can hold shift for aspect ratio 1:1. The circle tool draws a circular shape, or you can hold shift for a pure circle. The move tool will by default move the entire image. You can hold Control to apply to all layers, Shift to apply to all frames, and Alt to wrap canvas borders. There are three selection tools. The first one is the rectangular selection tool. You drag to select a quadrilateral, hold Shift and click to drag the image, press Enter to replace the image. The lasso selection tool lets you freehand a selection, hold Shift click to drag, Enter to place it. The shape selection tool will select all of a contiguous region of the same color. Shift click to drag, Enter to place. Now the shape selection tool also allows you to copy and paste a region rather than just moving it. You want to select the region, push Ctrl C, Ctrl V, Shift click to drag, press Enter, and then Ctrl V again. It's a little bit backwards, but it works. The lighten tool will lighten or darken a region using the pen tool. By default it will lighten, hold Ctrl to darken, and note that by default, you will continue to darken a region or lighten a region if you keep going over. Hold Shift to only apply once. Now you may see Shift Index in your toolbox. Now this seems to be an early access feature, and at the moment it's not fully operational, but once it is, I'll update the video for you. The dithering tool is similar to the pen tool, but it spaces out the pixels. Finally, the color picker selects a color from the canvas, which you'll see down here on the bottom left. Speaking of colors, we have the color palettes over here on the far right. You can create a new palette yourself by clicking on the plus button. By default, you'll see all the colors that you've already used, and you can continue to manually add them in as needed. Alternatively, you can import from a file. Now this can be any image that you want, or you can use a third-party palette selection. Now if you've downloaded a palette and you decide you no longer want it, you can simply go back into the palettes, delete, and it'll return to the original palette from your canvas. Above the palettes, you'll see the transform tools. The first option is to flip vertically, Alt-click to flip horizontally. The rotate tool rotates the image. Hold Alt for clockwise. The sheep icon will clone the current layer to all frames. Over here on the top left, you can add new frames. Then click on the sheep and it will duplicate it out to all the remaining frames. Now if you finished an image, but you would like to center it later, you can use this plus icon. As you notice, it is now shifted to the center of the canvas, but what is this shadowy area up above it? Up here, under the animation preview, you see a little onion icon. That is called onion skinning, and it gives you a preview of the previous frame's position. This is useful for creating smooth animations. Click again to disable it. So far we've been working with a single layer. All three of these frames are on one layer, but over here under the animation preview you can click on this plus button to add a new layer or shift click to duplicate the layer, but we're going to add a new one. Now you'll notice that there are 3 blank frames on this new layer. Let's select the paint tool and add in a background to each frame. And you can adjust the order of the layers using the arrows. In order to see the different layers over here in the frames, just click on the layer here on the right. You can click on this pencil icon to rename the layers. Now if you're satisfied with all of your layers and you'd like to merge them, click on this downward arrow icon. Finally, you can delete the selected layer using the X. Now let's say you're working on the background, but this squid guy is in your way. You can click on the eye icon over here on the right. Now under transform, if you click on the plus icon, you get more tools. Crop the sprite applies to a selection. So if you grab the rectangle tool, make a selection, and hit crop, well, there you go. The last transformation tool is to apply the currently selected palette's colors to a frame through their indexed numbers. Now this is a super fun way to change the entire color scheme of your image. So go into your palettes, select a palette of your choice. In this case, I have these 4 colors, save, and click the button to apply. As you can see, this applied to the current frame, so the actual animation looks pretty funny. This could be useful for like a hurt animation or something like that. But in this case, hold shift to apply to all frames. So finally, let's take a look at the preferences by clicking on the gear to the right. First, we have different background options. This is based on your own preference. Now, if you have a background, you can use layer opacity to make the current image more or less transparent or opaque. You can edit the maximum frames per second, and you can select your color format, either hexadecimal or RGB. Next, you can click on the grid tab, and you can choose to enable the grid if you prefer. If so, you can choose the grid size, and you can choose the grid spacing, and of course the grid color. Finally, you have tile mode. Click to enable tile mode, and this is super useful for creating tileable sprites. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to create a new layer, call it background, hide the other layers. Now one tool I love to pair with tile mode is vertical mirror pen. It's super fun to play with, and you can pretty quickly come up with some background tileable sprites. Now if you go back into preferences, you can see this mask opacity. This is referring to the opacity of the preview tiles surrounding your image. Now once you're satisfied with your background image, you need to apply it to all of the frames, but you notice it's only applied to the first frame up here on the top left. There's a quick solution. Click the sheep to clone the current layer to all frames. Boom. Then under layers, I'd like to see my character again, so I'm going to click on the eye. On the right side, under the gear, there's a resize icon. Under resize, you have the width and the height in pixels. You can maintain the aspect ratio by selecting the box. So if I want to change the width to 128, it will automatically scale the height to 128 as well. Click resize. And now the canvas has expanded to 128 by 128. But what if I wanted that image located, say, on the top left instead? That's what this little grid here is for. You can set your anchor point. But what if I wanted to resize the actual content and not just the canvas? In other words, this guy right here. In that case, let's say I wanted to scale him up to a 128 by 128 image. Then I need to check the resize canvas content box and hit resize. And since that was an even number, it will very cleanly resize by doubling the number of pixels. And if you look on the bottom right, it's now 128 by 128. Continuing in our options, you have the save icon. Now this is for saving the project file, not necessarily a sprite image. Now if you're satisfied with your image, you can export it as a GIF, PNG, zip, or C file. When downloading the GIF, click the button. Now you may notice that your download looks like a blank icon and your computer doesn't know what to do with it. If this is the case, rename the image and put .gif for GIF. Now your computer understands what type of file it is. Over under PNG, you can download the image as a Spritesheet. A Spritesheet looks like this. It's a single image with multiple frames stamped across. Now if you don't know what data URI export or pixie.js export are, you probably don't need them. Down below, you'll notice the option to download a single frame. So if you want just this frame as a single image that does not animate, click that button. The zip download option is handy if you're trying to share a large amount of content. Finally, down below, you have the option to import. You can load a Piskel file from the browser or locally, or if you'd like to open an actual image, you can browse images. You can import a single image like this, and it will automatically detect the dimensions, and click import. Alternatively, you might import an entire sprite sheet, in which case you're going to have multiple images within a single file. In this case, it's 512 by 512 pixels, but you might need to tell the editor how to chop this up. And there's a pretty simple solution. For the width and for the height, just take the maximum number and divide it by the number of images in the width or height. In this case, I have 4 by 4. So take 512 divided by 4, you get 128. So 128 by 128, and now I have my grid lines, and the editor knows how to chop it up. Click import. Now if these happen to be a little bit misaligned, you can use the offset to tell it move over just a little bit. As you can see from the frames on the left and the animation preview on the right, the sprite sheet has now been chopped into multiple frames. Finally, if you ever lose your progress, and in fact I did during this tutorial, click on Browse Backups. Piskel will automatically save your work in the background. In this video, we've taken a look at Piskel and its capabilities, including the tools, the canvas and resizing, the frames, the layers and onion skinning, transformation, palettes, import and export options, and general preference settings. Piskel is a continued work in progress, so if new features are added, I'll be sure to update you. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe for more content, and consider supporting me on Patreon to have your name in my videos. And until next time, I hope you have fewer bugs than I do. Thanks.